Hi there, how's it going? Today is December 26th. I hope that everyone had a great Christmas. So, in my last video, which was about a week ago, then I was walking through the streets of Seattle, Washington, having just landed back in the United States after 3.5 months of traveling, ending my travels in Bali, Indonesia. And in that video then I mentioned that I was going to take a train to Portland here and start a house sit. And so I have been house sitting here for the past 5-6 days. We'll be here for another few more days. I haven't really been doing too much, trying to get over the jet lag. It has been a tough one this time, and also just taking a break and considering my future plans. Now, unfortunately, I got some bad news, a very unfortunate Christmas present, you could say, 2 days before Christmas. But I will get to that in a couple of minutes. So first, I want to mention something that was one of the many various factors in my decision to come back to the United States now, even though it is the beginning of winter and not necessarily the best time to be coming back home, especially here in Oregon, where it is cold, wet, cloudy, rainy, etc. But anyways, one of the factors was that my credit card got hacked while I was in Bali, Indonesia, just a few days before I made my plans to come back here. So I was there in Bali and got a notification on my phone, a text message about a charge asking if I had made this charge, or I think that a charge had been declined, and then it asking me if that was me trying to make that charge. And so I log into my account. This was my Capital One credit card. I do not have a bank account, a checking account with Capital One. I just have the credit card. And so I log into my account and discover 2 or 3 charges that definitely were not me. Now, luckily, they were small charges in the amounts of like $5 and then one for $21 and then maybe another one for $14, something like that. And I think that one had been declined, and then they were asking me about the other recent charges. And so I called them up and said, no, these charges were not me, and contested them. So there were 2 different incidents. One was online. Someone had made an online purchase, but the other one was in a Target store. And I think that this was in like Minnesota, somewhere in the upper Midwest, that someone had apparently gone into a Target store and charged my credit card. Now, the obvious question is, how does somebody do that if they don't have the card? And so that is the important point here in both this instance and the other one that I will explain next, is I still have my card. So I didn't lose my card. I didn't have it stolen. It was not out of my possession at any time. So how does somebody go into a store and then charge something on your credit card when they don't have the credit card? When it comes to online, that makes more sense in that they could have gotten my number and expiration date somehow, and then you go online and you enter it in. But when it comes to being inside a store, how does that work? You can't go to a cash register in a store with the number and expiration date and say, I want to charge this to my credit card, and then only give them the card number, as far as I know. Certainly that is not normally how it is done, and I think you can't do that. So how do they make that charge? I don't know. So that is one of the first mysteries, questions to be asked. How is this possible? And then how were they able to get away with it? If it's a card that's fake, it should look very fake if they're showing it to a cashier, or maybe it was, an automated, one of those automatic registers without a person at it. Anyways, so that one, then the charges were confirmed to be fraudulent and reversed, and so no issues there. But I then had to cancel the card, and have another one mailed to me. So I use a friend's address here in Oregon as my permanent legal address, even though I am mostly traveling around the world for my job, YouTube, making videos. But the card had to be canceled, and so that was one of the factors, was come back, deal with this and various other things, go to my friend's house and get the new card. So I arrive at this house sit, and 3 days ago, the day before Christmas Eve, and so December 23rd, then I wake up, turn on my phone, and I have a text message from, this time, Wells Fargo. And they are saying, did you attempt this withdrawal, a cash withdrawal from an ATM? The ATM was in Seoul, South Korea, and it was for an amount of around $750. Okay, so my hand is getting tired here, going to switch arms. So I was in South Korea about 3 to 4 weeks ago. Now, I don't know if that might have been a factor in that attempted withdrawal, but maybe so, maybe not. So I get this notification, and it says $750 attempted withdrawn from your Wells Fargo checking account using your debit card, but it was declined. And so I immediately click the option of no, this was not me, to cancel the card. And then I log into my account online, my Wells Fargo banking account, to check and see what's going on. Were there any other charges? And sure enough, there were. So there were 3 more withdrawals in the amounts of $869 US. 3, all for the exact same amount to the penny, just under $869. So I'm rounding up from $868 and some change. So that adds up to $2,607 plus the foreign withdrawal charges of $5 each. And so those withdrawals were at an ATM in Belgrade, Serbia, which I have been to, but just once to Serbia, and that was in 2020, 5.5 years ago. So obviously not related to my having been there. This card was issued, long after I was in Serbia. So it wouldn't be related to my having been there in that country. And so those withdrawals did go through. They got the cash, apparently. And Wells Fargo did not flag those and notify me. So it wasn't until the withdrawals in South Korea, which would have been either the day after or maybe the same day. So the withdrawals occurred once a day. December, I think, 20th, 21st, and 22nd, something like that. And then the one in South Korea was, I think, the next day. And so despite the fact that $869 is quite a lot to withdraw from an ATM and a foreign ATM, and I never make withdrawals of that amount. It's always around like $100 to maybe $300, perhaps $400 or $500 maximum. But that is quite a large amount to withdraw, and then to do that 3 days in a row, and their security system did not catch that. It wasn't until the 4th one in South Korea that they finally notified me. Otherwise, this could have been going on for who knows how long. Now, I understand these systems aren't perfect. Also, I travel around a lot in various countries, and so it is part of my pattern to be withdrawing from different countries. But still, 3 very large withdrawals 3 days in a row seems pretty suspicious, and seems like they should have caught that earlier. But I am not necessarily going to fault them for that. But the problem, once again, is how did these withdrawals take place? Because, once again, I have the card. I could show you the card right now, but of course don't want to show you my personal info, even though that card has been canceled and now I'm waiting that card in addition to my credit card. But the big question is, how does this transpire? That somebody walks up to an ATM somewhere without having your specific personal credit or debit card and somehow withdraws money from the ATM. Once again, you can't go up to an ATM with numbers, even if you happen to have the bank account number or the debit card number and expiration date of somebody, and enter that in. You have to have a physical card to put into the machine. And so that begs the question, what did this person use in this ATM machine? So did they have some sort of duplicate card that looks exactly like my card, or do they have some thing that is just a magnetic strip and then somehow they had my PIN and so they just put that in and take it out, and even though it doesn't look like a card, somehow it actually works and fools the system? Whatever happened here, then the problem is that their system apparently cannot detect the difference between a real actual person's personal, individual, unique credit or debit card compared to a fraudulent one, a duplicate, a dummy card, whatever it is that they are using. And so this is, of course, a major, major, major flaw in the security system of banks in general, whether it's the fault of the ATM machine specifically, that they were fooled, and then once they approved it, then Wells Fargo got the approval and there was nothing that Wells Fargo could have detected. Or was it that Wells Fargo itself somehow got fooled? How that, transpires exactly, of course, I don't know, but obviously there is a major problem in the system there. And so I am not pointing the finger at Wells Fargo at this time and saying they are necessarily at fault, but certainly there is something wrong with the overall system. Now, of course, I have contested this and it is in process, and they said it will take up to 10 days for this to be resolved. Now, this seems to me to be a very, very, very clear case in which this is not my fault and I should not be held responsible for these funds being withdrawn from my account. I did not lose the card. The card was not stolen. There wasn't a period of time in which, I didn't have the card on me over the course of those, 3-4 days and hadn't notified them. This was, no fault of mine whatsoever. I've had my cards on me at all times, and so there was no fault mistake that I made that could have possibly resulted in this. So it's a matter of something being very terribly wrong with their system that this can happen, that somebody can create a duplicate card that somehow fools the system to the extent that they never pick up on it, and it all goes through and the money is given to this person and they walk away with it. So Wells Fargo's main number one job is to protect your money that you are entrusting with them, and they clearly failed here. And so it seems to me that it is just a cut and dried, open and shut case in this instance that those funds should be returned back into my account. And so we will see what happens, and I will report back later once I get a determination on this. But this is something that, the banks need to be getting on like ASAP, and hopefully this is being taken very, very seriously and not just somebody's account got hacked, too bad, it's your money, whatever. There's a big problem here with the bank security system. So letting you guys know that this can happen, just kind of putting it out there. Maybe I will use this video as evidence to send to Wells Fargo, especially if they don't refund that money. Of course, fraud is rampant these days. It is happening on a daily basis in many different ways. But I didn't realize that it was actually possible for somebody to walk up to an ATM machine without having your card and somehow walk away with money taken straight out of your checking account. So this is a pretty serious and alarming situation. So I will let you guys know what happens once I hear back from Wells Fargo. So more coming on other topics in the coming days. I have various ideas and plans in the works. So take it easy, have a good one, and happy New Year's, and have a great 2026 if you don't hear from me before the end of the year, but most likely you will. See ya.